Good afternoon. Sant V. Schreiber. How's it going on this fine, very warm Saturday? At least it's warm here in Los Angeles. Still kind of playing with themes from the previous stream, which I think was on Monday. With the, in that one it was a fairy and a lamia, and then I remembered my original idea was a dryad and a lamia. So I messed around with the dryad a bit. I don't know if I can show this on stream or not, but I'm showing it. Playing with some watercolors and stuff. Sorry, it's sideways. Played around a bit with the lamia. I want to do some more exploration on her though. I feel like she needs some figuring out. So, I was just gonna do some warm-ups first though. Just to maybe find some possible gestures for her. So not really trying to get too crazy with it right now. Been running around all morning doing errands. So and that dryad needs some figuring out too, just concept art wise, character design I should say. Oh wow. Nice. Drawing with some wine. I like it. I like it. I've thought about cracking open a beer maybe, but I'm good with water for now. But we'll see. In an hour or so I might decide that I need something to imbibe as well. So I know I do have to kind of be mindful of what I show on stream, right? Because everyone's all puritanical about any kind of nudity, and it's silly and annoying. Damn, I was gonna give her like this big hair, but well, she could, right? Snakes kind of swim with their head above water sometimes, so maybe she could do that too. Then we'll get her hair kind of floating on the surface of the water a bit. Anyone that doesn't know, a lamia is basically like a mermaid, but half snake instead of half fish. Or we could argue 2/3 snake, given that I like to make that snake part rather long. So, and sometimes I'll mix the two. I'll give them some kind of fin looking things sometimes, so, because it's fun. And Sant, I'm glad you're drawing. I like it when everyone kind of draws together. I think that's fun. Even if we're not together, it's kind of fun just knowing that people are also creating. So again, just doing kind of warm-up stuff. But sometimes even if your hand isn't quite ready to do exactly what you want, sometimes at least you can start to chip away at some ideas, right? Warm up with whatever medium you're using. It's always a good thing. And I have a couple ideas that I wanted to play with this. You know, there was something I liked about the mystery of not having it completely exposed underwater. But I wanted to play with maybe the idea that, you know, the water could be a little murky, because usually fresh water is, not always, but usually there's a bit of murkiness that happens with fresh water, sometimes depending on where in the world you are, but also how much flow there is. If the water is moving, you know, in a stream or a river or something, usually it's kicking up silt and stuff. So, but if there isn't much movement in the water, you know, like in the cisterns and stuff, and the cenotes and that kind of thing, then you can get like really clear water. Or like Crater Lake is super clear. I remember flying up to Washington one time, and the pilot said, "Oh, you know, if you look out the right side of the plane, it might have been left side. I don't remember whatever side I was sitting on." He was like, "You'll see Crater Lake," and I was like, "Oh man, I've always heard of Crater Lake." And I looked and I saw this dinky little thing, and I was like, "What? That's what everyone goes crazy about?" And then I looked up and like past it, and then I saw this massive lake in this crater. I was like, "Oh, that's what everyone talks about." And it looked cool, man. Like from the plane, that water was very, very clear. So, playing with the idea that maybe the water is a little more murky, you know, which is just a way to still keep some mystery. I'm gonna bring some water onto this ink, and it'll just, you know. But that's why I'm kind of being really loose and somewhat messy with it. I'm not trying to be clean, because this will all change a lot once I bring the water into the ink. So if we play with the idea of maybe some, you know, vegetation and stuff under the water, it makes sense, especially if you get into a pond or something, because that's sort of my idea. She like hangs out in this, I don't want to say a pond because that makes it sound really tiny, but maybe it's like a small lake that's like hidden in the middle of some kind of primeval forest or something. And I mean, she's part snake. She doesn't have to hang out in the water, but maybe, I don't know, maybe she likes the water. You don't know. Yeah, taking a break from digital, that's a good thing. I've been doing a bunch of digital stuff for work, so I do want to get back to Procreate. Sorry, I'm just shuffling some things around. I realized my water jar is in a very awkward position. Archer Kell, thanks for the sub, man. I appreciate that. That's okay. We're gonna give a shout out to Mr. R. Kel here. Go give him a follow, people. He's a very skilled artist and a very dear friend. Alright, let's throw some water on here, shall we? By the way, I'm working in a Etcher Labs hot press watercolor sketchbook. I love this paper, and I really, really, really wish that they would make either larger books or start selling this paper in individual large sheets, because I would use the hell out of it. Even though I still love Saunders Waterford paper the most for watercolor. No, that one's still my favorite. But this stuff is pretty amazing too, because it just works so well with like any kind of ink. It doesn't bleed. A lot of the other watercolor papers, if you have an ink that is like has too much flow in it, like a calligraphy ink, like exactly what I'm using, it can get a little weird, especially toward the edges of the paper. I think maybe the sizing in the paper gets a little wonky toward the edges of the pages. I don't know exactly, but all I know is that this stuff works fantastic with inks, so I highly recommend it. Girlfriend asked me today if I could make this character not so creepy, if I could give her a nice mermaid tail. And I was like, no, she's a lamia. She's like, yeah, but she's like half snake. That's what a lamia is. She's like, it's creepy, I don't like it. I'm like, well, I like creepy, so I'm sticking with it, and that's kind of the point. It's like, she's kind of supposed to be a little unnerving, you know? It's okay. Girlfriend likes cute, pretty things. Can't all be Disney princesses. Shakuri, what's up? How are you doing? Thank you. Another shout out here. Go follow Shakuri because she's awesome. Fantastic use of color. Absolutely love her color palettes. So everyone go check her out. She's dope. How you doing? How's your Saturday? Is it hot over where you are? Because it's hot here. By the way, I'm just doing kind of little warm-up doodles. Although my warm-ups always end up being a little more than just warm-ups, because that's just how I roll, but whatever. Well, it is kind of a doodle, right? We're only 16 minutes in. So I think I gauge doodles based on time spent. Although it's quickly going from a doodle to a sketch. I don't know what my time cutoff is for a doodle. I really don't. Or maybe it just is, like, depending on how serious I am about it, as to whether it's a sketch or a doodle or a drawing. I mostly first wanted to kind of play around with some different possible poses. Oh, I wish we had a nice cold fall right now. I would be so much happier with that. I'm not sure. I think it's supposed to hit 100 today, but I'm not positive. So, of course, I don't know which sketchbook I have those original. Hang on one sec. Too many sketchbooks. Here's the one. So we've been playing around with this idea of this Dryad and this Lamia meeting or hanging out or whatever. So this was kind of the initial thumb I had done. So now I'm just sort of kind of playing around with possible poses and stuff that I could use for them, right? So I had done these little watercolor tests on her. I have no idea what I can show on stream. They're censored. Boom. So partly playing around with technique, partly figuring out poses, right? Sorry, any Twitch mods. It's not sexual though, so chill. I was playing around with the Lamia as well. Sorry, she's sideways. I still like the idea of us not seeing into the water, because it adds a nice mystery to her, and we have no idea of the scale of that sneaky serpent part, which I think is kind of fun. So yeah, I'm just exploring more possibilities. Ah, thank you. Finger sensor for the win. That is the truth, though. We always, like, when it's cold, we're like, oh, I just wish it was warm out. Although it never gets that cold here in LA. Not enough for us to wish for, 110 degree heat waves or anything like that. Because that shit ain't fun. Actually, before we move on to the other one, I also wanted to maybe play with the idea of oh wait, let's make sure I pull out the right brush pen. He's about to throw some waterproof ink on there, and we don't want that. The gradient in the water, I'm not quite sure how much I want to mess with it, but we can do a bit of that. just get some more ink here. And some of this will bleed out, some of it won't, which is why I'm also kind of using it to create this like underwater vegetation, because I think some of that will kind of hang out still, so that's fine. But you know, since it does get darker as it goes away from the surface, granted we already have it darker here, but just a quick and dirty way to allude to there being a surface difference. Use our bigger mop here because we need more water. Squirrel mop. And again, like, you know, I want the water to feel a little murky. I want, if I decide that I still want to see a bit under the water, I want there to be room for some kind of mystery around her still, which is why I would play with this. Add some of that up, and then I'll bring back a little more detail, but first I wanted to kind of get it darker underneath. Oh, even when it's windy? Like, I can understand messing around in the, you know, cold when it's not windy. Because when it's not windy, if it's still clear and sunny, the sun can still warm you up, you know? But if there's wind, oh, not fun. All right, we're gonna let that dry a little bit. And then I want to bring a little, well, actually I don't want the lines to be too heavy, so we're gonna still so now we've moved past the doodle phase. I feel like once I start bringing in a second round of details, then we're into sketching territory here. But I want to let this dry a bit before I bring in more water, because otherwise, you know, you can start to really overwork the paper. Like, you can work into this paper a lot as long as you let it dry between. It's when it has that wet surface still, it softens up the fibers and you can start to kind of chew it up if you keep scrubbing at it. Don't blink, Shakuri. I know, sometimes, like, I don't want to slow down too much. I don't want to, like, give myself too much time to think. I like to kind of go on instinct a bit where I can, so I will sometimes just move quickly as long as like it is clear what I'm doing. And Willie, it depends if you're on a PC or a Mac. So on a PC, Autumn would know better than me, because I don't have a PC up and running yet. I'm currently on a Mac, so I'm useless. If you're on a Mac, it's super easy. You just plug your iPad into the computer, and then it pops up as an option. I think as a video capture device or something in OBS. So super easy on the Mac. And yeah, I've heard people having some issues with A-Power. Although it seems to work for Evan Amundsen, like that's what he uses. Though he was having some issues at one point with it crashing a lot. I just want to get more ink in here so we can kind of get her silhouette working. I could use the brush pen too, but whatever. This is what's in my hand. And this is where it's nice to just like don't like scrub the marks too much, because like, you know, you'll lose those nice watermarks that you get by just kind of like laying the water down and letting it interact with the ink a bit. So I'm not scrubbing, I'm more kind of like dabbing, but not in like a unsure way, I guess, because you don't want to dab with water-based media. It just doesn't look good. But if you're doing it for a specific technique, it works, but you don't want to like do it from a place of being unsure. Right. But it's like you don't want to spread that water out too much, or else you lose these nice marks that are so much fun. Gives us nice texture and yeah, a lot of fun shit to play with. Awesome, I'm glad you could stop by. You have a wonderful day too. Hope your family is well. And I'm sure I'll catch you on your stream. So I had to tweak Nightbot. I might change it because that might be getting a little happy there. But before I was like, dude, where the hell are you, bro? But let's, what did I Oh yeah, no, that's about right. Well, okay, so let's kick our Nightbot up a little bit, shall we? All right. We don't need you every 15 minutes, dude. Whoa. That was hectic. All right, we're back. We're back. All right, so I want to figure out, or at least try a little different, because I do still also like her being more above the water. I do love that sort of a casual kind of thing of her like chilling on the rock, you know. It's kind of fun. Has a nice sort of innocence to her, you know. And someone had pointed out on Instagram, which is really kind of the was my purpose with her, that they love the sort of innocence and yet threatening, you know, like scary when you look at her body, that serpent body, you know. She has like a really sweet face and then this like terrifying form. But there's something to that, you know, because, sorry, there's a little hair that is just bugging me. It was like caught between the tines of the pen. By the way, I'm holding it upside down so I can do finer lines, you know. Alright, let's play with the idea that maybe she just came up out of the water, so wet hair. Wet hair. With this kind of the pen in the water, don't crush your family. With this kind of the pen in the water, I'm obviously not afraid of getting a little messier with the sketch, because as you can see, I mean, most of the lines just get obliterated in the water. So I can kind of do a little bit of exploration as long as I don't go too crazy. But it can be in its own way pretty forgiving. You still, you know, if you don't feel like doing a prelim sketch, which, I mean, sometimes I do, because I actually love the look of having like a coal erase sketch underneath. Like that little bit of color is actually a lot of fun. And the way that the water kind of flows off the wax of the pencil just a little bit, I don't know, it has a nice look to it that can be pretty fun to play around with. So, by the way, I'm using, in this pen, I have a Diamine Onyx Black ink. So it's a calligraphy ink that is clearly not waterproof, but It is archival, so that's cool. So it's just this diamine onyx black. Diamine, where's my camera there? Diamine, I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's made in the UK. Nice. So it is an archival calligraphy ink meant for fountain pens. It works beautifully. Love it. If you want a waterproof or pretty waterproof, like not 100%, but very waterproof for fountain pens, the platinum carbon ink is awesome. I love this stuff. So I'll use that one as well, which is what I used on these. Right, so you can see that ink didn't bleed, even throwing watercolor on it, and that's that platinum carbon. So if you want some of that, this one was a mix of the two. So anyway, let's sketch. And actually, her I wanted to be. My default always goes to like my girlfriend's figure. She's like a little tiny slim thing. But that to me fits more with the Dryad. So with her, I wanted to actually make her maybe a little less thin. Not like super thick, but I don't mind if she ends up getting a little thicker. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I don't know how much of that we'll see like in this pose per se, so it may not even come into play that much, but it is good to think about. First, then I have to think about how the hell this rock works underwater, if I want to show underwater, right? And if anyone has questions along the way, please ask. It doesn't have to be related to this piece either. If you have any art questions or anything else you want to discuss, we can discuss it. Don't be afraid. So, let's consider that maybe in this, as we had done on some previous stuff, maybe that body is kind of coming toward us here. See where that top of the spine would be. May not go as crazy on the spines as I did in this piece, but there is something that I like about these. They just look gnarly, like a lionfish or something. And again, I like this idea of her looking fairly sweet, but then like she can't help what her body looks like, right? And so in my mind, like, humans would have freaked out and automatically assumed she's some terrible monster or something, which is why she's hiding out in this secluded area. You know, humans are not the most understanding creatures in the world. They don't like anything different than them, which is funny because, like, in the rest of the animal kingdom, I mean, it's not funny, it's actually very sad and sometimes depressing, but, you know, in the rest of the animal kingdom, you don't have, other than hunting for food, right? But then they don't really hunt their own animals. I mean, sometimes they do, and there are disturbing instances of that. But maybe we play with her body being possibly a lighter color, so maybe we don't go as crazy with the value on her. That could be kind of fun. Of course, looking at this, I'm like, I don't really know where that water. I guess it's got to be eye level, huh? We can't actually get that convergence on the water. So we'll just turn this into something that's in the background. We'll bring that in later, though. And you don't get hard shadows in the water just because of the light refraction, so you're not going to get like hard cast shadows underwater. You're not going to get highlights. It's basically almost everything reacts as like a form shadow, so a soft kind of turn of form with no highlights. It's just the way the light refracts in the water, so sometimes it's such a habit to just do things that act as highlights and stuff, and then I'm like, wait a second, underwater, ain't none of that. So water. I do tend to prefer to get like a little bit of ripple in there, but it just doesn't quite make sense with everything else, you know. Again, if it was like flowing water, then maybe, and there's no reason it couldn't be flowing water, you know. This could be like one of those kind of swimming holes that you get in little, you know, creeks and rivers where you suddenly get that pool of water, you know, like that could be fun. I don't hate the idea. And it would give me an excuse to just say that, hey, the water's moving, but we'll see. We'll see. And I know initially I was like, I was gonna do Inktober this year. Reality is, I feel like that's not necessarily what I need to focus on. You know, like with my time, I think there are other things that could use a bit more of my attention. However, I tend to draw on ink a lot already. So it's kind of like every month is Inktober for me. And no, I don't give a shit about the disputes and whatever that's happening there. I think everyone blew everything out of proportion, so that's where I stand on it. I don't give a shit. But, you know, I don't want to be like, oh, well, I gotta do inks, because maybe I'll do inks, maybe I'll do watercolor, maybe I'll do digital, maybe, who knows. So I'm not really, I don't care about the pressure of Inktober. I do what I want. But hey, no reason you can't use the hashtags, right? Even if you're not officially doing something every day. Who cares? Who cares? So while I don't really like or support the idea of like censoring, right? Well, one, if you're going to use someone else's platform, you kind of have to abide by their rules. But two, you know, like there is a certain amount of creativity I think that happens when you're forced to kind of like work within certain confines. So, you know, I mean, sometimes it's annoying because you do have to limit what you can show and what you can stream, and so, and it's not to say that like, oh, everything I do has to have like a nudity in it, but when you're doing a more mythological scene like this, like it was just kind of, I don't know, it's weird to me to then just put like clothes on them just to appease someone's weird sensibilities. So Jordan Ortiz, what's up? Willie, thank you. These are a lot of fun, I have to say. There's something, I don't know, like, to me, there's always something very, like, calming about water media, even though I don't know that technically ink is a water media. It's a water-based media, but most things are when you think about it. But mixing it with the water and stuff, it gives it this kind of watercolor vibe. There's just something, to me, that's very calming about that, and I like it. Makes me happy. Makes me happy. Wow, Nightbot is just having its way, isn't it? Next time I'm streaming will be most likely Monday night. I've been really trying to do like 3 streams a week, but reality is I have very few chunks of time where I can really develop some of the projects I'm trying to push forward. So I may end up cutting it down to 2 streams a week for now, which would probably be Thursday and Saturday, but I might do Monday and Saturday. Regardless, I'll be back on Monday. Monday evening, though, at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So I will definitely be back Monday. Yeah, no, I'm very, very happy that I've been able to get back to streaming. I was definitely missing it. So I am happy to be doing it again. And I'll definitely keep it going. There are times at work, has to take over, and then I'm like, all right, can't stream tonight, but oh well. Hey, at least I'm working too. I'm liking some of these ink bleeds here that are happening. It's fun. And I do want to get into doing hey Willie, thanks for coming by. I appreciate it, man. I definitely want to get into doing some like kind of creepy stuff on the iPad too. Whoops. All right, Nightbot, we're I don't know if Nightbot changes in real time or not. So we're gonna do a couple of things here. 20 minutes and 10 lines there. All right, Nightbot, you gotta chill, bro. Trying to decide, there's aspects to, I like this a lot, but it's kind of really fun to see her like kind of going up, you know. I feel like this one is good because I've been oscillating between the idea that they are friends and they're like kind of hanging out, which this works for, or is it like the first time they're encountering each other, which to me then this has more of that vibe. Because that certainly doesn't, obviously. And I don't know, I like both. I could always do 2 pieces, right? Oh, that would suck though to try and mimic the vegetation. Because there's gonna be a tree and stuff, but you know, whatever, we can do it. So I might do both. For now, let's try another something. Let's move a couple of these things. Alright. Damn, I feel like I should swap. We're gonna do it. Because I think I want to do another one, but I want to do some color, a little bit of watercolor on it. So let's do this. The only annoying part is that it's harder for you guys to see the palette when I have it off to the right. And I like people to be able to see the palette when I'm using paints. So let's think about adjusting this shit. Let's get our pad in here. At least you can see a bit of the palette. Probably can't keep it right. Yeah, maybe I can. It's not bad. It works. So this one I will probably do just a light pencil sketch first. Just because I'm not going to be using the water-soluble ink this time, I will be using the waterproof ink. So, you know, can't really take it back. So sometimes better to just get a little bit of pencil down. Word. Welcome back, Mr. Archer Kell. We're gonna do it on for an hour or two. Yeah, I think we can do it. We're gonna do a little bit of watercoloring here. It's still a rough though, so I think I'm gonna keep her a little small, little loose. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, then today's your lucky day, Archer Kell, because I believe in like 3 days is your birthday, so now I know what you're getting for your birthday. A little booty dryad. Vegor, hello. How's it going? I liked this kind of pose that we had on her. Why? That's one of the reasons I feel like art is a nice gift. You know, like it's something that can be personal. But also like has, you know, some value to it, and it's not like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of weird things that people give for birthdays when they feel obligated, you know? I don't know, I've gotten some weird stuff that people, it was like done as a joke, and I'm like, I would rather not get anything because now I have to deal with this thing. I'm like, I have to now use my time to dispose of this because I'm not going to use it. You knew I was not going to use it, so why waste it? You know, like the people who are like, oh, I got you a coloring book because, you know, you're an artist. I thought it would be funny. I'm like, dude, for real? Next time someone does something like that, I mean, unless it's, you know, like a naughty coloring book. Although, too bad I wouldn't be able to stream that. You know what we could do? Because I still liked that being able to kind of play with how her form is underwater a bit more than we could do with this one. Sorry, it's sideways. You know, here I had the rock in that way, but I wonder if we could kind of play with something that is maybe a little more river rock, so a little softer, but maybe jutting out more from the shore, you know, and then that would give us a lot more options to play with. I kind of like that idea because I also wanted to really play with maybe, you know, having her like kind of coiled up more in a snaky fashion. You know? So she's kind of wedged under there. You know, sometimes you get anacondas like all coiled up underwater, which is weird to me. I'm assuming they do it as some kind of a defense mechanism, because jaguars will go after their shit, which is just crazy to me. Especially when an anaconda will like sometimes outweigh a jaguar by a couple 100 pounds, and yet jaguar does not care. It's like, nope. I have the second or third strongest bite of anything on the planet. Like, I don't give a fuck. Maybe we'll have, because I do kind of still like her tail coming up above water too, so maybe we can play with that. See where our water surface is. We'll go back over them, Vagor. I know, like, there might be some new people in the stream. So we can still go back. Alright, so if we have got this rock here, and then let's play with that tail. Shit. So I'm debating on which way I want these things to curl. Decisions. So if we have this go in here, and then curling here. Okay, yeah, so I think we can do this. I just wasn't sure if I wanted it to go behind or in front, but I feel like anything we can do to kind of create a little more kind of stepped back depth, you know, is nice. And now we can have her tail here. So I tend to think of Lamia as being part serpent, whatever that means, not necessarily a snake as we know it. You know? Thus the crazy spines and shit. So. Like we've got enough here to start kind of throwing some ink down, perhaps. Although hinted some vegetation just so we don't overlook it. Just algae things, and you know, I'm not gonna like detail the hell out of all that right now, but I'd like to at least hint at some of that stuff. So. Yeah, I mean, they could be dragonborn. Alright. So I have the platinum carbon ink in this pen, by the way. So this one is waterproof. This is the Pilot Elabo Extra Fine, the EF, with a modified nib from nibs.com. So they gave me more flex on the nib, and it can actually go even finer than the standard extra fine, which is nice. So I'll tend to kind of do a bit of line work and figuring out, and then I'll come back in and put the weights where I feel like I need them. I don't really like to automatically put them on because I do like to kind of pick and choose where I want them. Sometimes I don't want a whole lot of line weights, and I just want some like accents, you know? And I love like the little fine lines. I think they're just so much fun. But we'll come back in and definitely put on some heavier darks. But I always loved like Yoshitaka Amano's like really fine lines. I love those things. No, a lamia. It's more the species that she is, right? So the lamia, although lamia was an actual figure in Greek mythology, I believe. And she was half snake, half human. But then within kind of mythology and more fantasy, I guess, they started using the lamia as a species, similar to a mermaid, just half snake instead of half fish. Which opens up all kinds of possibilities, right? Because then they could actually go on land, which is kind of cool. Even though I still have her in the water, but that's okay. I feel like maybe she's a more aquatic type of serpent. Not full on like sea snake, but you know, like an anaconda or certain pythons that just like the water. And if you think about it, if you're that massive, right? I mean, you get some of those anacondas that are 600 or 700 pounds. I have to imagine moving around the water is probably just really nice and easy. And then you get to terrify everybody else, which sounds fun. One of the things I love about this nib. I love scratchy nibs. I don't know why. There's just something about that sound that just makes me very happy. They're generally not as scratchy, meaning if you just buy a standard extra fine, it has a bit more of a bulb at the end. I don't know if we can really see the difference. So this is a standard extra fine. And then this is the you can kind of just barely see the difference in the shape. Like this one here, right? The non-red one has a little more of a chisel shape, where they ground it down. So, yeah, it gets more scratch, whereas the standard extra fine kind of maybe goes a little more smooth. But I love this one. 'Tis my fave. Might be better off hinting at that with the watercolor, so I'm not gonna go too crazy with it on the pen side. I can probably get a little closer on there, huh? So I'm not going all the way up to the top of the page. I don't actually have a name for her, though. I don't always come up with names because sometimes I just, you know, a story will start to pop into my head, but you know, unless I actually do something more involved with it, I'm not necessarily going to try and come up with a name. I feel like names kind of present their own sort of challenge. Which, you know, I enjoy the challenge, for sure. Start to get some contour lines in here. A nice thing is with the serpents is you can really turn these contour lines into something, and they just kind of help clarify how these forms are working in space, right? So what's sort of like wrapping around toward us, what's moving away from us, all that good stuff. And I try not to overthink as to whether or not they would actually have a belly button, because I don't know how they're born. The other thing I'll do sometimes, no, I guess like I always kind of thought of a Hydra as being, because wasn't that the how many heads did that Hydra have? Wasn't that the one? Wasn't that Hercules' thing? And then every time he chopped off a head, like another head, or like two heads took its place or something. Or am I thinking of a different one? The other reason, by the way, that I will leave the line weights is because sometimes I want to go back in and do that with a brush pen and not this pen. This time I imagine I'll do a bit of both. So that's one of the reasons I'm kind of not being, like, I'm not making that decision just yet. Although I do love the look of the heavier lines from this pen. Feel like she's gotta kind of get tucked under this rock a little bit. I have been looking at a lot of Arthur Rackham, as I tend to do. He's a huge inspiration for me. Kind of always has been, I think. I'd put the vegetation in there to remind myself, and then I totally forgot and drew right through, but that's okay. We don't need it to be super clean vegetation. fact, it probably shouldn't be. And this is not like some kind of a finished piece per se. You know, finished in its own way, sure, but not like... I mean, there's still a roughness to it, which I love, so who knows? It's all in the eye of the beholder, right? It's very, very subjective. I don't always love really rendered stuff, and I don't always love doing really rendered stuff. Most of the time, I'd rather have a little bit of roughness to it. Hello, Alex. Was a three-headed Hydra, right? Alex Sauce. Didn't it start with like 3 heads though, or something? And then like as someone was fighting it, then it got more and more heads or something like that? I don't remember. It's been a long time. Okay, so some of this stuff I will definitely like come back in and, you know, bring in some heavier lines. But as I said, I do want to do some of that with a brush pen. Plus, she needs more detail. She needs more going on. That kid upstairs just thumping away. Just want to make sure the ink is dry. I want to get rid of the pencils and then better be able to, I'll be able to better see where I want some line weights. And then we'll throw in some watercolors. And then probably do a little more line work on top of that. Luckily this stuff dries pretty quick, so not a big deal. Detail out that ear too. Let's get rid of the pencil. I don't want to scrub too hard because that can kind of mess with the surface of the paper. And if you're going to be throwing water on top of it, you don't want to mess with that surface too much. A little bit of smudgy smeary there, but that's okay. And you know, how dry you want the ink is kind of up to you. I have no problems with a little bit of smudged ink as long as it's not in the face. That's like the one spot where I'm like, nope, better be dry. Because anything else, you can just throw on some texture and like that ink smudge will disappear. But face, can't really hide that. Okay, a little more line work here. I was going to, and then what was it? Wednesday night, I probably ended up sleeping like 3 or 4 hours, and so I was tired. And then, you know, we had some not great news at work, and I was like, yeah, I'm not streaming. And I really just wanted to go to bed. I was so tired. Because, yeah, normally I do stream Thursdays, but you know what? Sometimes work and life have other plans. And I basically just had to make sure I was rested for Friday because, you know, had like a client meeting in the morning and stuff, and so I had to be in good shape for that. Especially when it's your first time meeting a particular client. I remember my plan initially, and I'd even told people, like, yeah, I'm just gonna mostly just listen, and, you know, if there's a specific question, then I'll answer. But but then the client just ended up asking me all the questions because, you know, it was art related, and he loves this other poster that I had done, and so he just like really wanted my input on stuff, and I ended up actually talking a lot more than I had intended. That's okay. It was fun. He was pretty rad. He seemed like someone I could just talk art with, like, all day. Brush pen just to get some like nice heavier darks in there. Got to be careful with this one though, because it is kind of a sharp nib, so it's not one of those where you can push with it because it'll dig into the paper. So you gotta kind of like move your hand around to get the right angle to make sure that you're pulling the nib. Whereas some of the ones that have like that ball at the end, you can kind of go any direction with those. So they'll just sort of glide around. But I like me my sharp nibs. Alright. Brush pen, and then let it dry for a minute, and then we can throw some color. That'll be fun. Those spines, tips of those spines. Brush pen just has a nice organic, kind of shape, so it just works so well. Normally don't like to resort to spines on things, but what's funny is that she's not actually evil, so it's kind of a fun dichotomy, plus it just works with her design, her creature design, I guess. Exactly what my girlfriend didn't want me to do. No, make her less creepy. No, not less creepy. More creepy. What is this tune? It's a good question. Something from Epidemic Sound. It's called Crate Digging by Tiger Blood Jewel. Crate Digging by Tiger Blood Jewel. I'm just debating if I want to do some heavier blacks on the like algae stuff, or if I want to do that with color and just make it darker. I kind of want to feel like we can play with some possibilities here. Give it a little bit of, just to really like pop it forward. Want to go in and put some marks on like the bigger scutes on her back as well. Who knows if they're scutes or scales? In my mind, they're scutes. Which are like the armored, the big, thick armored scales that crocodilians have. Love my smudgy ink. Probably do a bit more ink after the color, because sometimes then some of the lines get sort of kicked back when you start throwing in, you know, darker values other than the white of the paper. So I'll probably come back in afterward and adjust. And some of the, like, what I'm trying to do with some of these pieces is just to develop a bit of a process, which I don't really have around doing an ink and watercolor piece, you know. And so part of working up to doing a finished piece is to develop some kind of a process, right? So that you know what you're doing more or less every step of the way. Now, of course, there's always like some figuring out to do, no matter what. But you know, the more that you can develop a process, the more you can actually kind of play and be creative within a certain technique, and know that it's going to work out, that you're not going to completely mess it all up. So, you know, while I'm perfectly comfortable like doodling and just kind of having fun, I'm less familiar with doing a like more refined piece that doesn't kind of lose some of that energy, you know, that I want to keep So the more I can kind of practice and get comfortable with it, the more then I know I can do that. I can have fun and know that I have the practice under my belt to kind of pull it off still. So that's what some of this stuff is. So, you know, while I'll still call it a sketch, there's obviously a certain amount of refinement to it. And it could easily be kind of a finished drawing, I suppose. Composition. You know, composition's a tricky one. I feel like more than anything, composition involves like conversations, you know, because there isn't like a guaranteed way of like, this is how to make a good composition, because it is so much about balance and rhythms, and it's not balance in the sense that you want it balanced. It's actually playing with off balance and asymmetry, all that stuff. So, you know, with regards to composition, then you have to kind of work on understanding where to push it and where to emphasize, you know, where to put the weight of the composition. And that takes practice, and it takes a lot of, as Arthur Kell says, story and objective will often determine composition. You know, like, what are you trying to say with your image? Now in this particular one, I'm really just like trying to figure out options for her before I start to really move into a more finished, like, larger piece. Although I don't know how much larger she will actually be in the final when I think about it. She probably wouldn't be much bigger than she is now. I would just take more time to really refine and make sure that every bit of her posture and all that is saying what I want it to say. But I do think that one of the main things with composition is make sure it's not too balanced. You know, I think one of the few rules, and yes, of course, there's always exceptions, but one of the few rules is it should not be 50-50, you know? So you don't want half this, half that. You don't want half light, half dark. You don't want, like, you know, in terms of color, you don't want things to be 50-50. In terms of composition, physical composition, in terms of the layout of the elements, where is your breathing room? You don't want that to be 50-50. It will start to look boring, right? So that is one of the few things I would say to always kind of keep in mind with composition. But there are times that it could serve your purpose, you know, if that is kind of what you want. If there's just like a sturdiness and a stability that you really want to achieve in a particular image, and something totally balanced will get you there, then I could see it being, you know, potentially useful. But yeah, composition is a little bit more of an esoteric conversation. I think it works better to talk about certain pieces and why this composition works better than that composition. But it's funny because I can't, like, offhand, I can't really think of a composition that I don't like. You know, it's not like I like every composition, but meaning, like, the images, of course, that I love, like, naturally they're probably gonna have a really good composition, you know. So one of the things I love in Arthur Rackham's work is he will do this ground first, just a color field, right? That is basically like this kind of warm ground, and he would play with the colors. Sometimes he went a little too like umber for me, like raw umber for me. I prefer the ones where it goes more into the kind of golden sort of colors. That's what I like. But then what he would do, and what I've been kind of experimenting with, is throwing the color down and then dabbing it up. So it essentially stains the paper, but you're not left with like a really heavy, heavy kind of color to work on top of. I'm just anticipating that it is going to mess with the white balance a bit, so I'm like, oh, maybe I should get some white paper in there. I'm just letting that ink dry a bit more because I don't want it to bleed. Probably won't. I'm pretty sure it's all dry. Stuff dries pretty quick. For covering a page with water, spray bottles work amazingly well. If it'll spray, there we go. And then I'll use a brush to kind of push the water around. See, that's why like they say that this ink is like water resistant, and I'm just like, I don't know how much more waterproof you can get. Like, this is covered in water. I'm scrubbing a brush over it, and it is not bleeding. So it might also have to do with the type of surface, you know? Certain papers don't absorb the ink in the same way, you know? So I don't know. I just know that this ink does whatever I need it to do. So, works for me. Alright. Now we'll get this color, which I've already watered down quite a bit, so I don't know how much dabbing I'll have to really do to bring it back up. So, this might give us enough. And this is just the ground to work on top of. I feel like if I dab up, then too much of it will come up right now. But we can try. Because I didn't quite expect it to be so thin, so I put on more water than I had to. Thinking like, oh, I'm gonna dab it up anyway, so I don't have to wait for all that water to dry. It's okay, we can throw a little bit more paint on here. So for this ground, I'm basically using a Hansa yellow medium and some burnt umber. which is much more warm than raw umber. Raw umber goes pretty sepia, like pretty green. And burnt umber is almost more like a dark orange. And then I think I also put just a tiny bit of ultramarine blue to kick the saturation down just a little. I don't want it too saturated. So we're gonna start from, now it might be a little dry. Well, we'll see. I figure I can at least start here and then see how it works, because I'll want this a little darker down here anyway. So go away, you little gnat. Be careful about accidentally smashing bugs on your artwork. Don't want to do that. Cool. I'm going to keep this off the surface of the water though, because I actually want that to be light, so lighter. Actually works pretty well. Don't think I need to dab that up. And this also all depends on how light you're gonna want your highlights to go. You know, I want the whole thing to be kind of like kicked back, so that's why I'm not necessarily concerned with totally preserving the lights. You know, pick up a little bit of this, but I don't want to pick up too much. So then what I'll do is essentially just start to kind of nudge the colors around. You know, I'm not trying to like fully render and spell out everything. You know, I really just want to kind of let the water out of that mop. I just want to nudge the colors, and what that'll do is that'll give me a more kind of unified look. You know. But let's, I was gonna say let's let this dry. I don't mind, at least in the water, if we get a little bit of color bleeding around. I don't mind that. Give it a bit of a forest water vibe here. And with watercolor, like, you can keep pushing the color around as long as you have that moisture on the page. So you can work it around for quite a while if you keep that moisture going. You just don't want to like scrub really hard on the page or anything. You know, but again, that's where a little spray bottle can come in handy if you need to kind of keep some of that going. get a little darker, a little kind of cooler, greener under the surface. At some point I'll probably have to deal with that actual line that delineates the two surfaces. And for me, this is kind of where I'm happiest with watercolor, and it's partly just because I love drawing. So I really like doing this stuff where the line work is kind of doing the heavy lifting. I can do it where it's just paint as well, but generally with that, I'm probably gonna be working with reference pretty heavily. Not necessarily going like kind of free form like this, you know. Let's push these rocks. Push the rocks. I don't want to go brown with the rocks because that's kind of weird. Right? Rocks are not brown. Not really. Like, they can be brownish, but it's probably a better idea to go somewhere in the gray world with them. Dirt can be brown. You don't want rocks to be brown. Not that rocks can't be, because some of them can. And again, this is more about kind of nudging the colors around, not trying to like do a like hard delineated sort of thing. Get that line in there, their like surface line. Maybe too green. More green than I want. Might look a little better. Let that dry a little bit so you can kind of come back in and reinforce it. But I didn't want it to be too hard on like both sides. Actually, I don't even know if I want that super hard line on the top either. Soften it a little bit. A little bit of moss kind of like covering the top of the rock. That's why I left that area kind of the way that it is. It's not a comment on you. I love doing line work. I have not really thought about her coloring. Like, at all. Huh. This will be interesting. Decisions. First, I want to get some indication of the ripples and stuff. This a little bit. Sorry, Nat. You're dead. It's bugging me. Alright, what do we have for our... Now she's got... Can't censor. I'm not worried about the booty. So, like here the hair went too red. I wanted her to have like more sort of like tree-ish colors. So I went a little more like burnt umber on her hair. Desaturated though, very desaturated. So I just don't want her to have the same colors. Right? We don't want that. By the way, when this paper dries again, it actually dries pretty flat, which is cool. So it'll ripple up a bit while you're working on it when it's wet, but when it dries, it dries pretty damn flat. I don't know if I have something else I've really worked into or not that I can show on stream. I feel like I've done a lot of sketching in here, not a ton of like real watercolor. I mean, that one at a certain point had quite a bit of moisture on it, right? And it still ended up drying very flat, so that's cool. Damn. Colors. I still want her to have like kind of earthy colors. I mean, serpents, snakes can go pretty damn crazy with their colors, but I don't want to do that for her. Or, you know, maybe she's one of those that can like kind of change her color a bit to camouflage. That would be kind of fun. I still want kind of, I'm still leaning toward doing like kind of cool skin on her. But maybe we'll go a little warmer with it instead. And maybe a little cooler on the serpentine part. Right, well, let's at least work with the tail and see where that takes us. Yeah, no, this stuff dries pretty flat. I mean, it's already kind of flattening out as it's drying because there's still a lot of, it's pretty damp here, so it'll still warp up. But once it dries, it flattens out nicely. So I'm going to lay in a bit of cool on her tail and kind of work with some possible color variations. Shit. I gotta think this through. What I want the base color to be. And I do like what's happening here, so I might stick with that. A little bit of kind of nice greenish blue, but not overly saturated. And I don't want it to be like crazy strong, so that's why I'm watering it down a little bit. Control it as much as I can. But also I'm thinking it's more this color on the top, right? Not on like the belly, basically. Allow us to start to differentiate right more clearly between that belly and the dorsal side. Girlfriend will not be happy that I didn't give her a prettier body. Hey, thank you for following. Mellifluous. Yeah, she really wanted me to give her a pretty body. I'm like, no, I like the creepy. It's the whole idea. She wanted her to be a mermaid. I'm like, no, she's a lamia, not a mermaid. So one of the things with this look that I'm going for, it's not like heavily differentiated lights and darks, right? Which is actually quite different from most of what I do. I tend to go pretty heavily into lights and darks because I do like that stuff. I am gonna push that a little bit for separation, but yeah, it's not quite like crazy differentiation in that regard. I want some, but not a ton of it. Pushing the vegetation to like a warmer green, right? Just to differentiate kind of from her a little bit more. Again, not like going crazy, no plans of like rendering the crap out of anything. Just enough like separation, basically. That's all I'm looking for. Do you want to bring in some color variation on there? A little bit? A little bit? Like, kind of give her markings, I guess, is what I'm thinking. Should probably think it through a little bit more at least, but we're just gonna go for it. Let's see what happens. Yeah, and it's okay that it's still a little damp. I don't mind if these markings aren't like super crisp and clear. Give it a little bit more of an organic kind of vibe. It's kind of fun, I think. for the belly. I'm not sure yet. Hey Shane, how's it going, man? And Vagor, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking like, you know, maybe she can kind of push her colors around a bit, which would be fun. But I'm liking something a bit more subtle right now. So how's it going, Shane? What's you up to? We are depicting our Lamia character here. A little bit of differentiation in the lights and darks here. I don't want to go too crazy with it, but I want some. Nice. It's good to have a lazy day every now and then. Well, my girlfriend would find that pretty awkward, Bite the Hunter. I'm not married. I do have a girlfriend, and yes, if I don't think about it too much, they tend to look a lot like her. I think in the final piece, I wouldn't do that because I have two different characters. So I don't mind if one of them looks like her, but then the other one needs to not. So, Mellifluous, I am using watercolor. Obviously the lines were done in ink with a fountain pen and a brush pen that are filled with platinum carbon ink. But the color is all watercolor over here. Just Daniel Smith watercolors, with the exception of the permanent alizarin by Holbein. Here's the problem. I was kind of thinking a light blue belly, but I can't really get much lighter. Like, I mean, what's there already is pretty light, and I'd have to kind of try and just stain the paint that's here, the paper that we're seeing. Maybe here's what we'll do. We'll cheat. I'm gonna cheat and put almost like a key line, sort of differentiating the two, but we'll turn it into, you know, some additional sort of markings. Don't want it to be quite that dark though. So we're gonna have to do some dabbing, or I don't know, whatever it's called when I pull up the color with a paper towel. Just to manage the value a bit, you know, I don't want it to get too dark. As soon as you start getting really dark with the paints, with the pigments, it starts to kind of force your hand. Like you have to kind of then do some other things with the painting, and that's not where I want to go. So the key is to control those values and keep it all fairly light and muted, not going, you know, it's one thing to have an overall gradient, but if I start going like dark with stuff that's like up in the light, then that changes my value structure a lot, and I don't want to do that. No, that's a fair assessment. Bite the Hunter. Most of them do end up looking like my girlfriend. But again, it kind of depends on what my goal is, I guess, for a piece. Like sometimes it's just to get something done and just to like warm up. And so then I'm okay with going on kind of autopilot for some of that stuff. But then if it's something that I'm really like working out more, then I get more conscious as to what their facial features really are, you know? But like the kind of cartoony ones of Girlfriend are just so cute. I can't help it sometimes. I want to mix up a color for the belly, but I need it to be light and clean. Light and clean. So, basically just a little bit of manganese blue. It's going to do it for us. And we'll keep it very light. We'll see. This might be too light, might not be light enough. Nope, perfect. Look at that. First try. I'm not sure how far up I want the coloring to go, like the coloring from the serpentine part. A tiny Lamia emote. Man, I'd have to figure out how to do that and have it read. But no, he doesn't have. First of all, got some folks on here. Hello, people. Guess what? As a special thank you for watching from me to you. Hello, my friends. Welcome. Blame Archer Kell, he gave me the idea. Now we can add some more emotes. Alright, let's see. I'm just looking at colors for that fin tail thing, which I actually want to be a little more robust. My pleasure. My pleasure. It's worth it. Like I said, now we get to do more emotes. So who knows, maybe a little Lamia will make it on. So this is where, like, I love Arthur Rackham, but then I also love, you know, watercolorists like Sargent and stuff. So that's where I think I kind of tend to also gravitate toward the more like harder edged watermarks, you know, where Rackham would keep the stuff pretty soft and all the hard marks were really in the drawing. which I love that. But like for me, like I love those harder edged marks that watercolor makes. So I can't help it. Can't help it. Hell yeah! Get those emotes going. Again, I don't want to go too dark with this, but I kind of like the idea that maybe this fin thing or whatever the hell it is. Do snakes have fins? This tail can get a little flashy, you know. Even though I know that's more of a phosphorescence, like fish thing, you know, like when the sailfish or any of those, marlin and stuff, when they're in hunting mode and their colors just like flash, like that stuff's so cool. My pleasure. Welcome to the crew. Let's get a little bit of coloring on the belly here. And this is all, by the way, just me procrastinating because I don't know how I want to handle her human part. I mean, it could be kind of fun to have her be this sort of like cool skin. And maybe that's one of the things that like drew her and the dryad, whatever, together, right? That drew them toward each other because they're like, oh my god, you're a blue skin like me. Let's knock in some of these back with some water. So I don't mind, because we went a little green blue, right, with our dryads here. Sorry, Twitch. Sorry, Twitch. Not sorry. Get over it. So like with her, because she's the one I'm leaning toward, at least in terms of design. I don't know yet about the pose, maybe, but I like her pose too. But I like her coloring a lot, which is a bit more like, it definitely goes more green. So maybe we could go a little more blue with our girl here. So like similar but different, you know, kind of a thing. That kind of a thing. So again, go pretty light. I do want to make sure that I'm in the right range. Can't really take it back. Yeah. Dude. Thanks, man. Thank you. Everyone, let's thank Archer Kell for this other round of subs. Baller. everyone, if you haven't already, go give go give Archer Kell some follow love. And Autumn, dude, like if you have any other socials you want to plug, do it. Instagram or ArtStation or whatevs. Alright. Get into that face. And I'll bring some color variation too into the face and elsewhere. I'm just laying down these base colors. Right. One of the things when you go with like, you know, unconventional skin colors, one of the things that can make them feel odd is when we don't have enough color variation, right? So, because we don't always notice how much color variation is in normal skin tones, you know, because it'll go in and out of warms and cools. And Angry Dog Mommy, hello, how you doing? Painting up one of our little lamias here. Hell yeah, dude. My pleasure. So, hair color. I don't just want to go like Battle Goose. Welcome. Hey, I know you from Autumn's stream. Yeah. Yes, you found me. The Baniel abides. Kind of want to push a little bit of the silhouette there. Little finicky things, which maybe we can get to that later. Hair color. Hair color. Oh shit. I'm doing well, Battle Goose. How are you? I'm having fun with this. I guess I do have to be a little mindful of the time, but I haven't entirely settled on a thumb, only because, so, I don't know if you had seen Angry Dog Mommy. I had actually found my original thumb for the concept, which is when I remembered that it was a dryad, not a fairy, and I was like, oh shit, I like that more. But my idea with the original thumb was really that they were meeting for the first time. And so I'm not entirely sure if I wanted to be meeting for the first time or more like this, which would be kind of more just hanging out, right? So we did these two earlier in the stream today, and same idea. Meeting for the first time, or meeting for the first time, or kind of hanging out and chilling. And I really like both of them, and there's no reason I can't do both. You know, I could do one that's like meeting for the first time, and then one that's like later on down the line, and they're pals and they hang out and they chat, and so I don't hate that idea. And they could even be in two different locations, right? Like if it is, say, some kind of a lake. You know, maybe they don't have to be in like the same spot, but at the same time, it could be kind of fun to be like, hey, let's go meet at our spot. It's like a little secret spot or something. I don't know. So for now, I'm not settled on like this being the pose, but I wanted to at least play with some color. So yeah, I mean, it would be a lot of fun to do, to treat it as like a series of some kind. So I think we're just gonna give her like kind of just dark hair, not like super dark, but I'm not gonna. Tendency is always to go toward like a reddish brown. I wonder why. Red-headed girlfriend? Brownish red-headed girlfriend? But I think with her, and the other reason I considered for a minute doing warm hair is to match the markings that are on her, which we could probably do. I wouldn't mind having like maybe a streak of hair that's a warm streak. I think that could be kind of fun. And fantasy characters, right? Like, who knows? Maybe they have crazier kind of hair that humans pay a ton of money for. I don't think I want this. I mean, I might put some, I'm gonna put some color variation in the hair, but I don't think I want like necessarily a more streak of hair per se. Played with her eye color, right? Did I? Only barely there. I guess I had some, which you guys totally can't see. I actually went a little reddish with the eyes of the Dryad. So I think I might go the other way with our girl here. Alright, let's get some warmth in her skin. A bit of color variation goes a long way. But again, this is where we want it to be subtle, as much as we can. So just watering this down enough. Feels like it should be okay. Yeah. And then we can always just pick that up a little bit. am gonna get a little bit of more shadow indication on her. Just I'm not quite worrying about it right now. Because I definitely want the shadow indication to be, you know, not like super overpowering. So. I mean, you know, the fun thing with blues is that realistically, at least if you're working from a very true blue, any way you push it technically is warming it up. It just kind of depends on if you're thinking about like what's causing the warmth. Is it markings on the skin, or is it from, you know, capillaries and stuff that are closer to the surface? You know, all that kind of stuff. And with this, I'll play with a little bit of both, I think. Like, I don't mind having some other kinds of colors here, creating some like subtle skin markings, you know? I like that idea. Like very subtle. Those like barely even come up on there. They look a little more pronounced on mine, but not by much. Alright, let's do some gotta be careful. Sometimes you'll get a bead of water hanging out like just at the end of the ferrule, and that can be troublesome. Sometimes it'll fall off and get onto your artwork and cause all kinds of trouble. Sometimes it'll go down into the bristles, and then you'll get more water on the bristles than you want. So, gotta be careful. Get to soften those edges a little bit so we get more form shadow. So just using water, soften that up. Doesn't take much. I do want a little bit more variation in her hair. It's like hair is weird, I think, if you go too monochromatic with it. I think it kind of needs at least a couple of color variations, personally. It can just look a little, you know, too like perfect if you go really monochrome. We don't want to do that. Too dark. Trying to get a tiny bit more value separation in some areas. I don't want to overdo it, but I feel like just with the extreme changes of the planes, like we need a little bit for clarity. Because there's already enough going on in here that if we start, if we leave it where it's confusing to look at, then we can run into some trouble. Oh, right on. No reason to scare the hell out of you. She can always just, you know, dye it to something else if it doesn't work, right? Variation in that tail. Keep saying fin, but I'm like, it's a snake. Snakes don't have fins. Damn it. Snakes ain't got fins. I want to kind of bring in a little more value down here. Just to darken that sort of deeper part in the water. I want that to unify a bit more. So, especially with the heavier dark marks, I don't want them to get distracting. So, unification. Cool. Cool. So now I'm just debating if I want to do any more painting on it, or if I want to, because I still want to bring some heavier line in there, but this sort of allows me to sort of pick and choose, I guess, where I want to put those, based on what the composition is now. And I feel like I want a little bit of clarification in some of these spots. So I think we'll go with our pen. Just make sure that this is dry enough. You don't want that pen to bleed, right? Like a little bit. I actually don't mind if it bleeds a tiny bit, but I don't want it to like go crazy. Like, I don't want really damp paper underneath. Just asking for trouble then. I should probably just let this like really dry before I do this, but who has time for that? It's just a sketch. I mean, you know, kind of. Not bad. 2 hours in. You know? Not bad for a couple hours of work, I don't think. Like, this is 2 hours that I'm quite happy with. That's a good thing. Two hours into this sketch, right? Because we spent the first hour doing those other two thumbs. Word. Oh. Hang on. Don't want this feel too out of place. Yeah, alright. I'm digging it. Here, we'll get a little closer for y'all. See some of those details up close. And you can see on that rock, like those kind of watermarks and stuff. Like, I love that. Love that. So, yeah. All our fun, skewedy, scaly detail. Right? Good times. And then earlier, right, we got these girls done. So, good way to spend 3 hours, I would say. Vegor, thank you for joining. Super appreciate it. Hell yeah. Hello, Zebra. Appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. So I am happy with her. So let's think about a raid. If I can get my shit squared away here. Who's on right now? Carla Ortiz is on. Reagan Lodge is on. I don't know if we'll actually do a raid today. We might not. Skip the raid, I think. But if anyone has any questions at all, let me know. Otherwise, we'll probably call it a day. Like her. This was a different one I had done the other day. I definitely like how she turned out a lot more. Though I still want to do one exploring the idea of not seeing underwater. I just didn't take the time to really figure her out. Plus, I was a bit sleep deprived. So, oh well. But there's a concept here that I like. I'm just not a huge fan of the execution. So, likewise, Vegor, have a great weekend. Enjoy. Yeah, I'm feeling how she came out. So yeah, maybe we will. Should we raid? Let's raid. Why not? We've got. Thanks, Dimant. Thank you for joining. Who do we have? Reagan Lodge is on. Reagan Lodge is on. I like Reagan Lodge. He's awesome. So we're gonna raid Reagan. And you guys can give him a follow. He's awesome. And he's working on a graphic novel that looks super rad. So let's give him some love. Everyone on YouTube, thank you so much for joining. Appreciate it. Twitchers, we're gonna raid. All right. Raid time.